How we doing, everybody? UFC Thoughts here, and today we're going to be discussing the announcement that was UFC Seattle earlier today, maybe tomorrow, depending on when this gets uploaded. All in all, the announcement was super underwhelming. We got the main event and the co-main event for a fight night, and that was it. Dana doesn't usually do live streams for this. This was for sure the worst Instagram live announcement we've gotten from him. He seems super checked out. The fights announced are still decent, though. And we'll get into discussing them, giving early reads, giving early leans. Obviously, that's what we do around here. Before we start, obviously, definition of underwhelming: failing to impress or make a positive impact, disappointing. The announcements, while the main event was unexpected, I could say a lot of people would say, we wanted more announcements. We didn't wait around all day for fucking two fights, one of which we already had knowledge of. If you look at like the Twitter, like the fucking feed of MMA Twitter, like before the announcement was like, dude, we're gonna get fucking Joshua Van and Okop, we're gonna pay up gone, we're gonna get fucking DDP versus, and then we got a fucking, it is what it is. Let's get right into it, though. Main event of UFC Seattle is Israel Adesanya versus Joe Pyfer. Super unexpected, in my opinion, especially when you look at the current layout that is the UFC middleweight division. All this really says to me, outside of this being a good fight, the next fights we're probably going to get are Brendan Allen versus Dricus du Plessis, Imavov Hamzat. We already have Kaio versus Rene de Ridder. And Robert Whittaker, I don't really know what you do with him. I think you could probably do a Michael Venom Page matchup possibly for him. This is a super big test for Joe Pyfer, though. Israel number 6, Joe Pyfer just inside the rankings at number 15. This is an interesting fight. And what I mean by that is I could realistically see this going one of two ways. This fight, Adesanya either schools Joe and TKOs him eventually with Joe Pyfer's, issues with low output. We've seen him struggle with that. His cardio isn't the greatest. Or Joe Pyfer chins Israel Adesanya. And if I'm going to be honest with you, if Israel Adesanya were to lose this fight, I would be anything but surprised, if I'm being honest with you. And I think my early read for this fight is I think we're going to get a fluky-ass Joe Pyfer knockout over Israel Adesanya. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the fact that Israel just hasn't performed to the best of his ability, even though we've seen glimpses of and glimmers of prime-style Bender on his come-up. Obviously, Imavov round 1 outside of the uppercut, he was chewing up the legs of Nasruddin. He was teeing him up on the feet. Had really good output, got clipped with an uppercut aforementioned near the end of that round. DDP, really solid performance from Israel outside of the finishing sequence. He looked really good and was having a very competitive fight with DDP. Probably one of the, not one of the more competitive fights, because obviously he lost in worse fashion than, Sean Strickland the first time around, and Hamza beat him, but he put up a better performance than what Sean did in their rematch. We can say that. It's super interesting to me because I don't think Joe Pyfer can out-grapple Israel Adesanya, which is what I think some people will try to throw out there as like, dude, Joe Pyfer's got a mean blast double leg, bro. And to be fair, he does, and we did see a good grappling performance from him in his previous fight with a Magomedov outside of round 1 where he actually got out-grappled himself. He got a submission in that fight. He does not have the grappling to out-grapple Israel Adesanya. The only guy we've really seen in recent history really out-grapple Israel was Dricus du Plessis, which was not even a skill-based thing. It was more so a pressure-breaking Israel Adesanya, opportunistic moments that kind of just led to those takedowns and fatigue. And Joe Pyfer has worse cardio than him. I don't think that's going to be an avenue. I think this is going to be a standard striking affair where one guy is way more technical than the other, but the other dude is an explosive, super powerful, up-and-coming, younger contender. And I think in recent history, we've seen a lot of the latter winning those matchups. I know this is a weird fight for Joe Pyfer. He, not even, 2 years ago, got beat by Jack Hermanson, which is aging like milk. But since that fight, he's racked off quite a number of wins. Obviously, Marc-Andre Barrio later that calendar year, and then last year he racked wins over Kelvin Gastelum and Abel Ismagomedov. He hits very hard. That is something that Joe Pyfer does. Skill-wise, he doesn't really do anything that excites me. That's like, oh, he's actually really good. He's really quick, really explosive, and powerful. But Joe Pyfer, especially in the Kelvin Gastelum fight, man, he did fuck all in round 3 and in the latter half of round 2. He was getting outstruck by Kelvin. Modern day Kelvin at that, who had a very close competitive fight with Dustin Stoltzfus. Not a huge fan of that at all, but I digress. I just think that at this point in Israel's career, this is make or break. If he loses this, it's over. If I'm being honest with you, it's so over if he loses to Joe Pyfer. Because the only way Joe Pyfer wins is by knockout. That's it. Maybe he drops Israel into a submission attempt, maybe. But I don't even see... I think if Joe Pyfer lands the flush shot on Israel, it'll be lights out. And we've seen, especially in the Imavov fight, another really fast, explosive striker, especially in those early rounds. The reaction time from Israel Adesanya is just not the best anymore. Back in the day, he could, maneuver, he could swivel, head on a swivel, kind of bish bash bosh, kind of evade shots, tag you with your own shit. The Anderson Silva comp was super. It was there a lot when he was on the come up. Now, Israel's the older guy now. And his head movement isn't as good as it once was. We're seeing him get hit more and more and more and more. I think that Joe Pyfer can go in there and finish this in the first round, if I'm being honest with you. It will be interesting. There are a lot of weapons that Israel has that I think could work very well against Joe Pyfer, i.e. low kicks. I think low kicks are a very big weapon to be used against Joe Pyfer. Just kicks in general. I feel like a lot of people don't try and target that elbow of Joe. I feel like if you kick the shit out of his body, even if he's blocking it, that hurts for Joe Pyfer. And Israel can work both sides of the kicking game. His left body kick's really his lead body kick. He switches stances a lot. I think Israel he is the better fighter here. It's just a telltale sign of if he has the physical attributes to accompany said skills. And I don't know if they're there anymore. The Imavov shot, albeit beautiful shot by Imavov, following the eye poke situation, which is, so-so, but that was his decision to keep fighting. And it was really the follow-up shot that really got Israel out of there. I just think Joe Pyfer, he's got such low output that, I really could see Israel's style on him, but I don't. It's literally you predict a schooling TKO by Israel or a just brutal flush knockout in round 1 by Joe Pyfer early round 2. That's it. That's really the only way that this fight ends. If Joe Pyfer wins a decision, Israel is genuinely washed. He's washed beyond belief. My early lean is Joe Pyfer, though. I'm going to be honest. I think it is. It's an interesting fight, tricky customer. And it's honestly kind of disrespectful in a way to Israel to make him fight down this low when there's so many matchups that are available for him due to the name value. And I think, my take on this fight, this is the UFC's way of Israel's on his way out. We have this super marketable, quote-unquote, fighter in Joe Pyfer, who has all these highlight reel flatline KOs, had a huge win on pay-per-view in October last year. Super, outspoken, has that Sean Strickland-esque kind of style of speaking about things. He's brash, confident. This is the UFC's way of trying to, use Adesanya as name value, which is crazy. I can't believe. If you asked me who would win in a fight, Joe Pyfer, Israel, this time last year, I would confidently pick Israel Adesanya. Can't say I'd do the same thing anymore. I don't think Joe Pyfer's all that good. Let me reiterate that again. He is not that great. He is not championship level material at all at middleweight. I think this is the timing is very right, though, for Joe Pyfer. Young. Israel's older. I think Israel's, 36 now? Is Israel 36 or 35? What are we looking at? He's 36. And middleweight, I know there's, older fighters have kind of, Alex Pereira, for example, at 35, 34 was able to compete. Israel's just been in there with so many dudes, though, that I think it's a little jover for him. We'll see what happens. I'll give a more in-tune take when the fight approaches. Obviously, picks and breakdown for that will be posted. This is March 28th, so March 25th is when the picks and breakdown will be posted for that fight. Yeah, we'll see what happens. Let's move to the co-main event that we already knew about. Alexa Grasso versus Macy Barber. Thank God this is not the main event. Because I, like many others, probably don't give an entire fuck about this fight. But, to be fair to it, it's probably one of the better matchups to be made in that top 5 in the women's flyweight division. Obviously, Erin Blanchfield just kind of entered her way in with a win over Tracy Cortez not too long ago. Actually, it looks like she got moved up recently. She got bumped up over Macy, which does make sense at the end of the day. Alexa Grasso's lost a lot of stock from me. Even though, to be fair, losing to Shevchenko and Natalia Silva back-to-back is, not bad. I think it really depends on how Natalia Silva looks against Valentina when that fight gets booked. If that fight gets booked. Because Shevchenko, honestly, after the Grasso fight we've seen, she's actually pretty good. All right, we can deal with it. She's all right. You know what I mean? Natalia Silva is probably one of my favorite WMMA prospects of all time in recent memory. She's really solid. I just think Grasso's on a bit of a downturn, And even though Barber didn't look impeccable in her last fight against Karine Silva, I thought she looked better than what Grasso's look like, and I think she has more tools to win against Alexa Grasso than a Grasso has against her. Grasso's got jiu-jitsu, but her wrestling is super weak, and her boxing is all right, but she doesn't move her head at all, and she doesn't hit all that hard. So I'm in a weird place where it's one of these ladies was champ at one point. But I think she's a worse fighter than a lady that I have to go into the fight knowing that she'll be going in with a terrible weight cut. Her activity isn't the best. I know that she just fought in December at UFC 323. Her last fight prior to that was UFC 299. I know she made it to fight day against Erin Blanchfield before her, the whole thing backstage. But that's what I'm saying. There's so much medical stuff with Macy Barber, exterior things happening outside the cage that it's can I really pick Barber here? Looking back, I picked her to beat Erin Blanchfield. I would have been so wrong if that fight had went through. I don't know. I think Barber's more dangerous. I think she has more finishing ability on the feet. I think she's a better grappler than Grasso. Maybe not grappler. She's definitely a better wrestler, though. And Grasso's wrestling has looked really fucking mediocre as of recent. And she's actually getting outstruck by a lot of people now. I think a lot of people have kind of figured out her game. She got a lucky back take against Valentina, and then the second fight she got a very lucky, terrible decision to a draw. She should have lost that fight very easily. I don't know how round 5's a 10-8, but I don't really care for this fight, but it is what it is. It's a decent WMMA fight. Should be fun, at least, unless Barber's just able to absolutely maul her in the wrestling department, which honestly she might be able to. Because Karine Silva, honestly, her wrestling and jiu-jitsu is pretty similar in aspect-wise to Alexa Grasso, and we saw how that went. The wrestling she just took over in that fight. Yeah, Barber's probably going to win. I don't know. Let's move to some undercard fights. There are 5 undercard fights currently for UFC Seattle. Marcin Tybura versus Walter Walker. Really huge step up in comp for Walter. He should probably win this, though. I think the big difference when it comes to this fight for Walter against a lot of the other prospects we've seen go against Tybura, excluding Ante D'Elia, who is a crazy fight veteran outside the UFC. I'm talking about Mick Parkin, who hasn't fought since then, hasn't even had a fight announcement since then. He's kind of disappeared off the map. And then like Janata Janice, for example, is the fact that Walter actually can grapple and wrestle. Striking wise, unironically, Tybura is a better striker than Walter Walker. Don't even know how that's possible. But we've also seen Tybura get submitted before, obviously, Sergey Spivak in the Apex in 2024, I want to say it was. In the Apex when he got that arm bar over him. Was that in 2024? It was in 20. Yeah, that was 2024. Like, we've seen Tybura, and his chin is spotty, so even then, Walter, even though he's not that good on the feet, his striking is actually pretty abysmal. He could still probably find a big shot on Tybura because he's just so open on the feet. But I think Tybura is better on the feet, but his defense is worse. You know what I mean? Like, his striking, he has more technical striking than Walter Walker, but his defense is dog shit. And his chin is really bad. And Walter has just kind of been running through guys. And the thing is, Tybura isn't the type of dude who, if he gets to the ground with Walter, he's going to try and get back up. That's Tybura's whole game, is the grappling. It's the wrestling. So, that's what he's going to try and get to on Walter. Which, to be fair, we haven't really seen Walter in bad positions on the ground, especially as of recent. Obviously, his debut against Lucas Dresky, which has aged worse than worse every single time that fucking Polish guy fights. But other than that, he's looked, heel hook. He's ripping these dudes' fucking legs to shreds. And he's going up against a keen grappler who's older, whose chin sucks, who is going to look to grapple him. I think this is a disaster class for Marcin Tybura. He'll probably try and get a takedown on Walter. Walter will get the heel hook again, maybe, because... heavyweight's these fat dudes don't see it. They don't see that in the gym. They just don't. And that's why I think Gable Stevenson can actually come to the UFC and have some success, because he's actually drilling that type of shit. Dude, Walter Walker came to the UFC fat, bloated, against Lucas Dresky, didn't go for a heel hook once, just trying to out-grapple people and smudge them on the ground, lost, and he was like, fuck it, I'm just going to go for something these fat dudes have never seen in their life in the gym. And he's gotten 4 wins in a row off of it. It's a huge step up in competition, nonetheless, Marcin Tybura is way better than, Louis Sutherland. He's way better than, not way better than Kennedy Nzechukwu, but, we've seen the grappling from Kennedy. It's kind of weird, I obviously Marcus Buchecha had some very good success in round 2. Dontel Mays is genuinely fucking awful, and then Junior Tafa, don't even get me started on that dude. So, it's a huge step up. I think Walter can probably get it done, but... another undercard fight is Mansour Abdulmalik versus Yusri Belgari. Super interesting fight at middleweight as well. This is probably... It's so hard, because, Mansour Abdulmalik, we've seen a lot more of him in the UFC. Obviously, he's had, 4 fights in the UFC now for Mansour? Debut against... Egghead, and then Nick Klein, Cody Brundage, and then I want to say it's 4, right? He's 3-0-1. Yep. We've seen a lot more of him, but his competition, in my opinion, has been way worse than what Yusri Belgari fought in his debut. Yusri Belgari fought Beksat, Azamat Bekoev. That's not Beksat. Oh my god. Azat Maksum, Azamat Bekoev. There we go, alright. I think Lucas Tracy made the same mistake on the Vancouver stream. Anyways, He fought Azamat Bekaev, who in my opinion was a dude to really look out for in that middleweight division. He's a very powerful striker, really good grappler in his own right. And I think the thing that we took away from that performance was just how good Yusri Belgary's grappling had improved. His grappling improved a shit ton, and his striking, obviously coming from Glory, is very good. Excuse me. There were moments where, Bekzad got in, range, and not Bekzad, Bekaev. Fucking Bekaev. Bekaev got in range and tagged him up a couple times. I think in round 2 he hurt Belgary at one point against the cage. Mansour Abdul-Malik has just not really... I don't know. He hasn't done anything to really, really shock me yet. I feel like all of his fights have been kind of gimmies, and even then, Dusko Todorovic and, who was the guy that he just fought? Antonio Trockley. They are ass, and he made them look like ass. His other two opponents, Nick Klein and Cody Brundage, are also ass, but he made them not look super ass. Nick Klein, he got 10-8'd in the first round. He landed 2 strikes. He almost got finished by Nick Klein. Cody Brundage, he was having competitive... He was landing 10 strikes a round in that fight. I gotta sneeze. Bless myself. Okay. He was having competitive rounds with Cody Brundage. I hate that look. Yusri Belgary, it's like he's older, though. Like, that's Yusri Belgary, 34, 33? Yeah, he's 33. Mansour was like, what, 28, 26? He's 28. It's strange because, like, I think Yusri Belgary actually might be better. But I don't know. I'm going to have to come back to you guys on this one. I don't know. I'm not sure. Because I think I'm going to lean towards Yusri Belgary, especially if the betting odds are close. Because I think they actually will be significantly closer than what people think they will be. Just based on the fact that Mansour is undefeated and Yusri Belgary is kind of... obviously Marco Tulio kind of had his way with him on the Contender Series. And then in his second fight on the Contender Series, he stunk it up against some fat Asian dude. But I do think that... I don't know. Gonna have to come back to you guys on that one. Casey O'Neill versus Gabriela Fernandez. You guys don't give a shit about what this... Probably Casey O'Neill. I don't know. Gabriela didn't really impress me against Julia Stolyarenko. And Casey O'Neill beat Laura... not Laura. What's her name? Is it Laura? Luana. Holy shit, my brain is... Listen, I've been out of the game for a little bit, alright? I have it up... Luana Santos. That was also a while. That was a UFC 305. So it actually it's been a while since both these ladies have fought. I think her last fight was in summer of last year against Julia. But Julia's striking is terrible, and she made her actually look competent on the feet. I'm not a huge fan of that. And Casey O'Neill looked decent on the grappling. Yeah, I'll probably go Casey O'Neill. Probably. I'll have to watch some tape on Paramount Plus for this one. Let's move to Nicole Cagliari versus Carol Foro. Probably Carol Foro. I know most of you probably don't even know who this is. She fought in the Contender Series last season. Had a really cool fight. Won and got signed, but also her opponent got signed. Really good output on her. She's a solid striker. Nicole Cagliari just hasn't really shown me literally anything in the UFC yet. She has done nothing but lose, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Ernesta Cadasqueta, she very clearly lost that. I have no idea how they made that a split decision. And then Carly Giudice literally beat the shit out of her. Her striking is terrible. Not terrible, but like she's just she swings for the fences. That's about it. And then she tries to wrestle. But she's not that good. Her jiu-jitsu's all right. She has a lot of submissions, but I don't know. I think Carol Foro actually really impressed me on the Contender Series. She's 9-1. She beat it was Chanel Dyer. That's the black lady from England, right? Yeah. Chanel Nightmare Dyer. Like, she's pretty good. She knocked her down, I think, like once or twice. She's got a lot of TKOs on her record as well. She's got more experience at that than Nicole Cagliari, so I don't know. Definitely win Carol Foro. Lastly, What's this guy's first name again? Zhu Kenji versus Marcio Barbosa. I'm definitely not pronouncing that right, but I know he fought in the Contender Series, Marcio. He fought Damon Wilson. I forget, what week was that? That was August 26th. That was kind of early then. Yeah, week 3. So that was when Ryan Gandra fought, who's got a fight book now. He's got a lot of experience. So does Zhu, though. Zhu has fought on road to UFC a couple times. I think he's fought 3 times there. He's coming off a split decision win over BG. I think was the dude's name. I don't know. I'll have to do research about these guys. I don't really know much about them. I know that, Marcio has a lot of finishes. And, Zhu has a lot of KOs, but outside of that, doesn't really seem like to do much. Marcio Barbosa, he's got a lot of KOs as well. 14 of his 17 wins are by knockout, and he got a crazy knockout on the Contender Series from what I remember. You know what? Let me watch it. Marcio Barbosa. You know what? Let me see what this KO looks like. Oh, this was he fought the one, do I have my desktop audio off? Okay, I do. Okay. I remember this. This guy looked like he didn't even belong. Oh my God. Hold up. Ooh. Probably gonna go Marcio Barbosa, actually. I lied to you. I don't even need to watch Zhu Gang Cheap tape. You guys don't give a fuck. I'll tell you about it come March 25th. Also, some other fights got announced at different events, starting with Chito Vera versus David Martinez. This is at UFC Mexico, I want to say. I think this is probably going to be the co-main event for that event. Leaning towards David Martinez for this one, sadly. I just think Chito has just been gone on a downward spiral for a while now. I think his output is really pissing me off, and David Martinez, a really quick twitch, really fast, a lot of output, especially as the fight goes on, which is, he can match the output from Chito as the fight goes on, because Chito does throw more. Round 1 is a lock for David Martinez to win the round, so Chito's going to have to win both of the next 2 rounds, and I just think David Martinez is going to output max him and just beat him. David Martinez is actually pretty good. He's young, quick, has some power, not a whole lot, but he's got some. Chito obviously hits hard, but he hasn't gotten a KO in a while. Let's be honest about it. He hasn't finished anyone in a while. What was Chito's last finish? Was his last knockout, was it Cruz? Was it Dominic Cruz? Don't tell me it was Dominic Cruz. Don't tell me. Oh my God, it was Dominic fucking Cruz. Damn, that's embarrassing, honestly. That's crazy. Obviously, he's gotten, the fight with Damien Zahabi was close. But again, it's the output. It's just, the guy does more. It's going to be in Mexico, too. Who do you think they're going to lean to give a decision to? David Martinez. Let's move to another fight. Raul Rosas Jr. versus Rob Font. Don't know why I read that backwards. This is at UFC 326. Surprisingly, this one is not on Mexico, even though Raul Rosas Jr. is a bigger star, in my opinion at least, than David Martinez. But this is at UFC 326. This will probably be either the featured prelim or on the main card. Depends on if they find a replacement for Bruno Ferreira, as Paulo Costa pulled out. So, that main card, obviously main event, Holloway Charles, Kyle Bahalio, Rene de Ritter, Renato Moicano, Brian Ortega, probably Rob Font, Raul Rosas, and then a 5th fight. Maybe I think the rumor is that RoboCop is stepping in to fight Bruno in a rematch. So, I don't know. Probably Rob Font over Raul. I don't think Raul is that good at all, actually. I thought he actually could have lost to Vince Morales, who is not good. So, and his next win, his last one was Vince Morales, because he was booked here, but then he pulled out. I don't think Raul's striking is that good, and his grappling is kind of not that great either. he doesn't do a whole lot with his grappling. And Rob Font, even though he's old, which is like, I think something a lot of people forget about is how old Rob Font is. He's like 39. Raul just doesn't fight a whole lot. And this was a huge step up. If he's getting treated the way that Christian Rodriguez treated him, holy shit. And last but not least, the reason why Paulo Costa is out of UFC 326, because he's moving up to light heavyweight to fight Azamat Murzakanov. This was announced. This is on UFC 327, that Miami pay-per-view that has other fights such as, I think, Dominic Cruz, Johnny Walker, and then Tatiana Suarez, Lupita Godinez. Pretty good fight. Probably going to go Azamat Murzakanov here by KO over Paulo Costa. It would be so disrespectful to a lot of people in that light heavyweight division, especially Azamat, who has done nothing but win in the UFC, for him to fight a guy coming up who isn't even that good in that division. Can we talk about that? Why is Paulo Costa getting a top 6 matchup at light heavyweight? He's not even top 10 at middleweight. That's not how that works at all. Dana and Sean, what are we doing? Hunter, why is he getting this matchup? He sucks. He's not a good fighter. I know he's coming off a win over Roman Kopylov, but it seems like everybody's getting a Roman Kopylov win nowadays, which sucks. I love Roman, but like, damn, dude. I hope Azamat shins him. Paulo's been pissing me off recently. He made a really dumb joke on Twitter about, like, Anthony Joshua, like Jake Paul in the back seat with him or whatever. It was super weird, and I wasn't a huge fan of it. And he also doesn't deserve this fight at all. So, yeah, I hope he gets his fucking head removed from his shoulders by the professional. Even though he's not that professional, but it's a battle of the T-Rexes at the end of the day. I think it was Benny that said that on Twitter. But yeah, these are also fights. These are also fights along with, obviously, these ones as well. We'll end with this as the thing. That's the video. The announcement was super underwhelming, but we did get a cool main event out of it in Adesanya versus Pyfer. How do you guys think this fight's going to go? Who do you got in the main event of UFC Seattle coming to you guys March 28th? If you liked the video, give it a like. If you want to see more content like this, subscribe. Leave a comment down below what you guys want to see next. I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.